Okay. And I know that some of these are on the TSX. Now, how can an American investor take advantage of some of these that are listed on the TSX? Is there an easy way for folks to do that?
Well, I usually, one of the first things I'm doing is just to see what all their listings are. In other words, Pan Am is dual listed U.S.
Absolutely, right.
And
it's on the
right,
NASDAQ.
and,
Yep.
and Fortuna is on the OTC. So is Colossus, so is Golden Minerals. They are on the Amex. And then Golden Hope is also listed on the OTC. So
okay.
They're all dual listed. But not every company is. I mean, some of them are only on the TSX or TSX Venture. I think it's that right.
Sure.
But, we just have to be aware if we're, as U.S. investors, if they have a U.S. listing or not. If that isn't the case, you can also get a global account in a brokerage. You can get a brokerage account that has overseas capability, and then buy directly on the TSX also.
Sure. Okay. Well, and I'd like to point out for our audience that sometimes buying a stock OTC, it can be a little nerve-wracking because they're associated with penny stocks, and a lot of people want to stay away from penny stocks. But one example I want to provide that's on Jeff's list of stock picks, and either of you could weigh into this, is Great Panther Silver. I bought some Great Panther at $1.21, and now it's got a listing. It's no longer an OTC stock, and it's done very well. And Jeff, I know you've owned Great Panther for a very long time, and it's one of the mines that you actually visited. Can we talk through your list, Jeff, of mining companies?
Sure, Sean. In fact, Great Panther is the only mine I've ever visited, and it was quite a wonderful experience because, in fact, their main project is the location of our UN World Heritage Site, which is something people may not expect with regard to a silver mine, but a very interesting trip and a very interesting company. And I'm not quite as much of a classic number cruncher as Brian, so in a lot of respects, I tend to look for good stories, and then if I sort of see a general story that captures my eye, then I'll start to sort of burrow down into the numbers a little further. And so for me with Great Panther, it was simply a matter of, here's a company with some tremendous upside resource potential based on the fact that there had never been any deep mining and deep drilling at their main property. And so there is, this huge expanse down at the 400-meter level below the surface where there had never been any attempts to, further establish how much silver was down there with, the potential for a very large deposit. And so, that was the carrot that sort of got me into that company and continued to hold it through some dark days. And, of course, now things have turned around for the company completely.
Yeah, and Great Panther, just for folks to whom that may be a new company, has done extremely well, and now it's up around $4 a share. Jeff, are there any other companies on your list of 5 that you care to talk about further?
Well, in fact, like Brian, I mentioned Colossus Minerals, and, for me, this is once again, one of those classic big picture stories. It's simply a company that has the most spectacular ore intercepts that you're going to see when you look at any sort of drill results. In that, not only do they have fabulous grades of the gold ore itself, but this is a free ore deposit, which also has very rich amounts of both platinum and palladium in it. And of course, there's going to be tremendous value if those ores are refined out of this, those metals are refined out of this ore as well. And then another, quote unquote, big picture story of mine is Pelangio Exploration. Basically, they've spun off a new company. This is the same management team that I'd already done quite well with another property and another project. And now they've spun off this new exploration company, which has moved over to Ghana, and it's working on 2 very large properties which are situated next to some of the largest gold mines in the world. And so, they have very high hopes for the future of those properties. Of course, the thing we also have to realize here is that, these companies are in very different stages of development. So you have Great Panther on the one hand, which is already an established producer. You've got Colossus, which is kind of in the middle, which is looking to become a producer, hopefully sometime in the next year, and at which point that'll start to become a lot more, stable in terms of its operational model. And then conversely, you have a company like Pelangio Exploration, which is still in the very early stages of drilling. And so, this is a very highly speculative investment and definitely not something that anybody should consider as a core holding in their portfolio. This is, more along the lines of a lottery ticket or a small investment you make that's highly speculative, but which has tremendous upside potential if things work out.
So, Brian, let me ask you, being that we're approaching $40 silver and Sprott Asset Management is seeing $50 silver this year, where are we in terms of on the barometer for overvalued or undervalued as it relates to a lot of these mining companies? Are these stocks still being sort of valued as though silver were still $10 or $15 an ounce?
Yeah, interesting that you asked that now, because from my perspective, again, as I look at the structure of the company and then see what they do, what they're projecting to do, I'm still trying to value each company accordingly. Some of these are very sensitive to silver uptick, to silver prices going up, and that's why we have the basket approach. We're picking stocks that are sensitive to gold and silver upside. If the spot price goes up, then these companies will have a tendency to, at least the ones that are producing or advancing well. Some of the explorers don't, and that's a different story. Some of the explorers are more event-driven. In other words, if they have something happening soon, whether it's a spin-out or a buyout or a resource being released or updated, those are really what drives the value of that company versus just pure silver or gold going up. So we have different reasons for picking different companies.
Absolutely, and just looking at this Golden Minerals company that you had mentioned with the low outstanding shares, their current market cap is right around $300 million, and with 50 million ounces of silver potentially in the ground, one can do the math on $50 silver and potentially feel pretty good about that type of investment.
And then, again, for that one, we don't know, we can't speak to it, but they have a lot of other properties that don't have a reserve listed yet, but they are prospective. So they're sitting on a lot more than they've put out. We've actually written up a bulk of these more at length than our one-line answers on the basket.
Oh, that's great to know. And how do people find that? That's right on your website as well? Oh, in the database, sure.
It's right, the mining company database. It's a tab up top, and they're broken out by silver, gold, and then other metals companies. We've written up some copper, a variety of other base metals.
Sean, I should also add that we've put together what we call our education vault, and that's a learning resource which we've put together which combines a discussion of various aspects of the bullion market to educate newer people to the sector in that respect, and then a companion set of articles about the miners to try to take people who are even totally new to this sector right from a very entry level of understanding right up to the point where they can start to evaluate and choose these companies for their own portfolios. So we hope we provided sort of a complete package in terms of information and education for investors in this sector.
Well, I think so. And what we really like about you guys over at bullionbullscanada.com is that you're good guys, and you're out there speaking truth and spreading the good word on what a excellent opportunity silver is for folks. And so I think people are really going to appreciate this, especially as it relates to trying to get their feet wet in the world of juniors. Well, I really appreciate your time. So everybody check out bullionbullscanada.com, and I will provide a couple links to both the database and this great article, the Bullion Bulls basket, for folks. So, gentlemen, Brian and Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah, thanks again, Sean.
Right, thank you.
All right, guys, have a great one.
And as always, guys, thanks for watching.